In the headlines, ready for one-on-one talk, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he is ready for bilateral talks with Russian leader Vladimir Putin, calling it a crucial first step to the end the war. The announcement comes after he described his White House meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump as the best yet, alongside with high-level talks with European allies. A ceasefire on the table. In Gaza, Hamas has accepted a ceasefire proposal brokered by mediators. The proposal includes a 2-month halt in fighting, the release of hostages, and new humanitarian aid channels. Israel has confirmed receipt of the response but has yet to issue an official decision. In Nigeria, sky-high fuel prices are driving young innovators to find alternatives. Engineering students have built an electric vehicle from scratch, proving that ingenuity can drive the future. In the Philippines, Senator Risa Hontiveros faces an ethics complaint after a key witness claimed he was paid to fabricate testimony against top figures, including Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy, Vice President Sara Duterte, and former President Rodrigo Duterte. The complaint, filed by a lawyers group, follows the witness' recantation. Controversy flaws President Marcos Jr.'s selective probe of flood control projects. PDP-Laban wants an independent investigation led by Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong to uncover corruption allegedly involving lawmakers and big contractors. Who's really accountable? Stay tuned. In Australia, Senator Warwick Stacey of the One Nation Party is stepping down, citing health reasons, just months into his term. Party leader Pauline Hanson praised his contributions, saying a replacement will be named soon. Back here at home, the Kingdom of Jesus Christ warmly welcomed hundreds of newly baptized members in the National Capital Region. The faithful expressed their utmost gratitude to Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy, and their faith, loyalty, and trust remain unshaken. I'm Kristel Guangco. Newsline World starts now. Hamas says it has accepted a ceasefire proposal brokered by Egypt and Qatar, one that could pause months of fighting in Gaza. The deal, if approved by Israel, calls for a 60-day truce, the release of hostages, and the entry of urgent humanitarian aid into Gaza. Israel has confirmed it received Hamas' response, but has not yet made its position clear. The last ceasefire, which included hostage exchanges, collapsed back in March. Since then, Gaza has witnessed relentless bombardment and blockade. Local health authorities report more than 62,000 Palestinians killed since October 2023. Hunger and famine is spreading, with at least 263 people, including 112 children, dying of hunger. Meanwhile, in total, 251 hostages were captured during the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. So far, 148 hostages have been released in exchanges or other deals. 8 of them returned dead. Israeli forces have retrieved the bodies of 49 more and rescued 8 alive. That leaves around 50 hostages still in captivity. Israel believes at least 27 of them are dead, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said there are doubts about the fate of several more. Among those still held are 4 non-Israelis, including 2 Thais and a Tanzanian, and all confirmed dead and 1 Nepalese captive. On the diplomatic front, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani met in Cairo. Both leaders urged an immediate ceasefire, rejected any reoccupation of Gaza, and stressed that a sovereign Palestinian state is the only path to lasting peace. Talks in Egypt continue, with the United States also involved, as civilians and hostage families wait anxiously for a breakthrough. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he is ready to sit down face-to-face with Russian leader Vladimir Putin, calling it the crucial first step toward ending the war. His comments came after high-level talks at the White House with U.S. President Donald Trump and European allies. Franco Baranda for the details.
Speaking after the summit, Zelensky said Kiev is open to both bilateral meeting with Putin and a possible trilateral format that would include U.S. President Donald Trump.
Я підтвердив, і мене підтримали всі європейські лідери, що ми готові до двосторонньої зустрічі з Путіним, і після цього розраховуємо на трьохсторонню зустріч. Ну, питання буде, напевно, як пройде двостороння зустріч. В принципі, ось такий результат. Вважаю, що результат хороший, нормальний.
Ahead of those talks, Trump told reporters he believes Vladimir Putin wants the conflict to end and that the U.S. will work with Ukraine and its partners to make sure peace is lasting. He added that progress is being made on security guarantees for Ukraine. Speaking alongside Trump, Zelensky said he also backs a diplomatic path, including the possibility of a trilateral meeting with Russia. European leaders, including NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and French President Emmanuel Macron also joined Trump and Zelensky for a multilateral meeting that same day. The Ukraine president said security guarantees were raised as a key issue on what he called the starting point for any real end to the conflict. The U.S. is expected to be among the guarantors, and Trump has voiced support for a trilateral summit bringing Zelensky face-to-face with Putin. This White House meeting with Trump, according to Zelensky, is the best they've ever had.
За підтримку. Я б хотів подякувати президенту Трампу за цю зустріч. Це була найкраща з наших зустрічей, це важливо. Окрім того, що ми багато про що поговорили, довга бесіда в деталях.
Though no breakthroughs were announced, both sides described the discussions as a positive step towards peace. Zelensky briefed U.S. officials on the battlefield situation and that reiterated Ukraine's goal of a lasting settlement. Moscow has set tough conditions that Ukraine renounce its NATO bid and recognize Russia's new borders. Zelensky confirmed land swaps were raised in Washington, but insisted Ukraine would not give up territory. Forgotten my beloved country, the Philippines, Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
While in talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders at the White House, U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly took a short pause for a phone call with none other than Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to Kremlin aide Yuri Yushakov, the conversation between Trump and Putin lasted around 40 minutes. Both leaders signaled they were ready to work on a resolution to the Ukraine conflict alongside Zelensky. Trump himself had hinted earlier that such a call was coming. Speaking to the reporters before the meeting with Zelensky and his Western allies, he remarked that Putin was expecting to hear from him once talks at the White House wrapped up. Centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz and Jorge Quiroga both addressed supporters following initial results of 2025 Bolivian elections. The country is now headed for a run of votes. Angel Pastor has the latest.
Bolivia, 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 Bolivia.
Centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz took the lead in Sunday's election with about 32%, while conservative former President George Tuto Quiroga followed with around 26%. Neither candidate reached the threshold for an outright win, forcing a second round on the 19th of October. The result is a crushing blow to the ruling Mas Party, whose candidate captured just 3% support, the party's worst showing since Evo Morales first rose to power.
Segundo, agradecer a través de la patria a todos los hombres y mujeres que han hecho posible que la voz de los que no teníamos voz, de aquellos que no aparecíamos en encuestas, de aquellos que no existíamos, resulta que hay una Bolivia que no se la toma en cuenta y ahora se ha puesto presente no para insultar, no para ofender, sino nuestro proyecto es profundamente boliviano, de un proyecto para todos los bolivianos.
Bolivian presidential candidate George Tuto Quiroga also addressed his supporters in La Paz, vowing to carry the fight into the runoff.
Tenemos el desafío de pasar de un país con un centralismo estatista a un país con libertad. Lo que ha pasado esta noche en Bolivia es inédito. Este es nuestro momento, es tiempo de unirnos, de cambiar, construir el futuro que estamos soñando juntos. Hoy vamos a escribir una nueva historia y lo vamos a hacer como dijimos en la campaña, por el futuro, por la esperanza, por el cambio, y lo vamos a hacer juntos. Necesitamos toda la unidad posible para derrotar lo que hoy tiene al pueblo boliviano sumido en profunda angustia, lo que tiene a las familias bolivianas desesperadas.
The election unfolded peacefully, but with deep voter frustration over inflation, fuel shortages, and a struggling economy. According to early results, both men will now face each other on the 19th of October in a decisive vote that could redefine Bolivia's political and economic future. Reporting for Newsline World, Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
In other news, Senator Risa Hontiveros is now the target of an ethics complaint after a witness claimed she allegedly paid him to testify against top political figures. Jason Rubrico for the full story.
More than a month after a witness retracted his statements and accused Senator Risa Hontiveros of allegedly paying him to testify against Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, Vice President Sara Duterte, and former President Rodrigo Duterte, a group of lawyers are now taking the matter to the Senate.
It has gotten to a point na kailangan na po talaga ng Senate investigation sa Ethics Committee against Senator Risa Hontiveros. Abot na yung point na si Senator Hontiveros karoon ng parang pattern of bringing witnesses to her investigation who are false witnesses. And the latest of that, ito pong alias Rene, or his real name is Michael Murillo, ay nagsalita na po na siya po ay binayaran allegedly ni Hontiveros.
Attorneys Jean Paras, Manny Luna, and Ferdinand Topacio say they will formally file an ethics complaint before the chamber.
Ang hinihingi namin dito will be for the Senate to conduct an investigation. We are not saying that she is already guilty kasi meron due process. For purposes of initiating the investigation for possible ethics violation and disorderly conduct.
Luna emphasized that the move is meant to allow the Senate to police its own ranks and to show the public the truth. The complainants insist the move is about accountability and warn that if the Senate refuses to investigate and the allegations are later proven true, it would appear as if the chamber tolerated serious misconduct. Senator Hontiveros, meanwhile, has denied the allegations made by the witness known as alias Rene. For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s crackdown on flood control project is facing fire. PDP-Laban insists that the administration is shielding bigger players in government and in Congress and is demanding a no-nonsense probe that spares no one. Jason Rubrico for this report.
PDP-Laban slammed President Marcos' order to investigate only big contractors in flood control projects, saying it's just for show. Deputy spokesperson Ferdinand Topacio said the probe should start with the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, as it is responsible for project designs.
More than the contractors, unang-una tignan po natin yung DPWH. Hindi po ba ang DPWH ang gumagawa ng disenyo? Hindi ba yung back nila, yung Bids and Awards Committee, ang nag-approve ng mga bids? Hindi po ba DPWH ang nagdedetermine kung completed yung project according to specifications? Why look at only the contractors? And why look only at specific contractors?
Topacio added that lawmakers allegedly tied to shady flood projects should not be spared. He also pushed for an independent commission through an executive order, suggesting Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong to lead the investigation.
Nag-o-offer yung tao, bakit ni-reject? Natatakot ba sila na hindi kayang kontrolin si Mayor Magalong? Takot ba sila that Mayor Magalong will call it as he sees it? Gusto ba nila ang nag-iimbestiga? Congress, sila mismo Hindi po pwede. Kaya tama yung mga calls for an independent third party na mag-imbestiga. Ngunit, mukhang hindi sincere. Kaya po kami sa PDP, nananawagan po kami kay Pangulong Marcos, reconsider Mayor Benji Magalong.
Mayor Magalong earlier said he's ready to head the probe or testify in Congress if invited. He added that several mayors have evidence of widespread corruption, with some lawmakers allegedly acting as contractors to corner projects and pocket kickbacks. For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SM9 News.
In other news, Thailand is turning crypto into cash for tourists. A new pilot program will let visitors convert their digital assets into baht for spending nationwide. A move officials say could boost tourism and strengthen the community or economy. This report from Aniza de Guzman.
Thailand has officially launched a pilot program that will allow foreign tourists to convert their digital assets into Thai baht for local spending. The project, called Tourist DigiPay, is being rolled out by the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and other government agencies. Officials say it's designed to attract more visitors, boost capital inflows, and strengthen the country's economic system. Under the 18th-month Sandbox program, tourists will be able to convert their cryptocurrency through Thai-based digital asset exchanges regulated by the SEC. The converted money will then move into e-money wallets supervised by the Bank of Thailand. Finance Minister Pichai Chunchowachira told reporters that these wallets can be used to make payments across the country, from large shopping centers to small street vendors. However, digital assets themselves cannot be used directly for payments. Merchants will instead receive baht, ensuring compliance with national payment laws. The SEC added that the project is built on a secure framework that includes risk management safeguards, as well as Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering checks in line with the anti-money laundering office's requirements. Punanong Putsarat Trakun, the SEC Secretary General, said the program integrates Thailand's existing digital asset trading ecosystem with the e-money system, making it easier for tourists to spend while ensuring proper oversight. The Sandbox is expected to officially open in the fourth quarter of 2025 after consultations and regulatory adjustments with the industry. Once the pilot ends, regulators will assess its effectiveness and decide on wider adoption. If successful, Tourist DigiPay could make Thailand one of the first countries in the region to offer tourists a seamless way to spend digital assets while traveling. I'm Anissa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
More news when Newsline World returns.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika, at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen. Magbasa. Makipagkwentuhan. Magdasal. Maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Now we're back for more news. House debates over the 2026 national budget quickly turned tense as a lawmaker demanded full transparency and small committee changes. Questions over amendments and public access to reports are putting the spotlight on how taxpayers' money is being handled. More on this report from MJ Mondihar.
The debates in the Philippine House of Representatives immediately heated up on the first day of deliberations on the 2026 national budget. The proposed funding for next year is at 6.793 trillion pesos. That's an increase of 7.4% from this year's 6.326 trillion pesos. During the budget briefing, Navotas Representative Toby Tiangco looked for the report of the Small Committee of the 19th Congress. The Small Committee under the Appropriations Panel finalizes institutional amendments before the House approves the General Appropriations Bill or HGAB, the Chamber's version of the national budget. Tiangco says the public has the right to see the minutes and the full report of the Small Committee.
May dalawang distrito, hindi naman to kasalanan ng congressman doon sa distritong yon. Ang NEP nila is 2.530 billion. And then pagdating sa GAA, naging 20.999 billion. Isa pa, 1.508583 billion sa NEP. Pagdating sa GAA, 20.795. So, tapos ang pinasok lang sa BICAM dito is 5 billion and 4 billion each. So, ang napasok dun sa small committee is 13 billion. Doon sa isa, yung isa 14 billion. So sino yung nagpasok ng 13 billion na yun at saan tinanggal yun?
Tiangco earlier questioned the transparency of the small committee, particularly the amendments inserted after the HGAB's passing on second reading. This includes fears of discretionary insertions or pork barrel. With that, here's a response from the current House Committee on Appropriations.
The small committee is subsumed within the Committee on Appropriations, and it is not required to render a separate committee report. The rule that you are citing, Honorable Chanco, pertain to standing committees. And the mother committee in this case of the small committee is the Committee on Appropriations.
Yes, but did we exempt the Committee on Appropriations not to submit a committee report? No.
Again, the committee report of the Committee on Appropriations at the plenary level is the HGAB itself.
Yeah, but all meetings, dito sa ating rules, all meetings must be on record. So it's not only the committee report, dapat yung small committee na yon, meron silang report na finurnish lahat.
Again, if with the indulgence of the Honorable Chanco, the COMSEC is looking into the request, if we may move to the next question.
Okay, I will move to the next question.
Congressman Tiangco insisted that before dissecting the 2026 budget, the public must first understand changes made by the small committee. No less than President Marcos Jr. himself earlier warned that he will veto any budget not aligned with the administration's priorities. However, Congressman Tiangco did not get the committee report he was looking for, as the House still considers it an internal matter.
Public funds is not an internal matter. Di ba kaya nga natin ginawang transparent to because it's not internal. Pag nagtanong tayo tungkol sa pera ng taong bayan, every question is valid and every question is a public matter. It is not an internal matter dahil pera po ito ng taong bayan.
The procedural point is what's considered as an internal matter. Again, we maintain that the output of the small committee is included in the HGAB.
For Government of Philippines, MJ Mondihal, SMNI News.
Former rebels are sounding the alarm after the court cleared 5 prominent communist leaders of criminal charges. The group warns their release not only reopens on old wounds but also risks fueling fresh conflict. MJ Mondihar is back for more.
Buklod Kapayapaan, a group of former members of the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, National Democratic Front, or the terrorist group CPP-NPA-NDF, expressed concern after several prominent leaders of the said group were released by the government. Among those acquitted by the court were Tirso Alcantara and Renante Gamara, members of the CPP Central Committee, along with Junicio Almonte, Johnny Bore, and Raul Razo. On the 14th of August, Gamara, Bore, and Razo were freed from the Metro Manila District Jail in Taguig. Almonte remains in the New Bilibid prison, while Alcantara has been free since the cancellation of the peace talks in 2017. The 5, along with 32 others, were charged in connection with the kidnapping and killing of a soldier and an attempted killing of a former rebel in Mauban, Quezon in the year 2007. According to Buklod Kapayapaan, while they respect the court's decision, they stress that they personally know these individuals as active CPP-NPA cadres with direct roles in the armed struggle. Buklod Kapayapaan emphasized that as leaders, these individuals should be held responsible under the principle of command responsibility, especially for killings and recruitment of children in armed conflict. The group also warned that the court's ruling undermines ongoing peace-building efforts. They said it disregards the sacrifices of thousands of former rebels who surrendered, faced charges, and chose to reintegrate into society. Buklod Kapayapaan vowed to continue advocating for peace and justice, urging both government and the judiciary to ensure that legal decisions uphold reconciliation, public trust, and national security. Meanwhile, Jam Sagino, also known as Kaamihan, a former rebel who has returned to the fold of government, warned that the bigger danger lies not only in the release of the so-called Santa Cruz 5, but also in the propaganda mileage that the CPP could gain from it. For Government of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, 39 Filipino workers trafficked in Nigeria are finally home. The government secured their release and is now helping them rebuild their lives. The group arrived at Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3 after months in detention, where they were forced into online scam operations. They were promised legitimate jobs paying $1,000 a month, but were instead exploited, threatened, and had their passports withheld. The Department of Migrant Workers or DMW, along with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Philippine Embassy in Abuja, negotiated their release. Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak personally welcomed the workers and assured continued government support. Each repatriated overseas Filipino worker received cash aid, medical and psychosocial service, temporary shelter and will be assisted by local governments for long-term reintegration. Meanwhile, a young Filipino mother who gave birth in detention will remain in Nigeria until cleared to travel with her baby. The DMW reminded Filipinos to remain vigilant against illegal recruitment and promised ongoing protection for overseas workers. Fuel prices in Nigeria are climbing up fast, but a group of young innovators isn't backing down in Sokoto. Engineering students have built their own electronic vehicle from scratch, proving that ingenuity, not gasoline, can drive the future. This report from Virgil Parba.
In Sokoto, Nigeria, a group of engineering students is turning crisis into innovation. They built an electric vehicle from scratch, an answer to the country's soaring fuel prices. Footage filmed shows the students assembling the vehicle's component and taking it for a test drive.
Growing up in Sokoto State, we've seen many cars moving around. But one thing was very common. They were all fuel-powered cars. And there was a technological advancement in the world. EVs, electric vehicles. I was very surprised. And I thought that why can't we make ours?
For others, the project is about more than just engineering. It's about pushing boundaries.
It highlights the importance of STEM education. It symbolizes self-reliance, creativity, and potential innovation.
One student says the work also reflects the struggles many families face with rising costs.
As a student, I grew up in a house where my parents always complain about the rise of the fuel price.
And it's not just the men leading the way. The women of the program say they're challenging stereotypes and showing what girls in engineering can do.
I wanted to change the mindset of our forefathers and some people that girls are only kept at home and can't do anything except staying home. So I just wanted to change their mindset on that girls can do everything and they are sometimes even above boys.
The team believes electric vehicles could help Nigeria break its dependency on fuel and redirect resources toward education and progress.
We can reduce the use of fuel, and then the money we use for fuel can be used to do something more productive, like helping in the education.
And for these students, the project also shines a spotlight on Sokoto, proving that even a small state can make a big mark.
We're in Sokoto State in Nigeria. It's not a very popular state. So making a difference means that making an electric vehicle means that I'm making something that will make Sokoto State stand out among the whole Nigeria.
This innovation comes as the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited raised petrol prices across its outlets for the second time in 4 days, deepening the fuel crisis. This is Virgil Parba, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
In other news, at India's Attari-Wagah border, strength met patriotism. Vispi Karadi, known worldwide as the Steel Man of India, has attempted to smash his own Guinness World Record. The 16-time Guinness title holder stunned the crowd as he lifted and held Hercules pillars weighing a total of 261 kilograms for more than a minute. Karadi already owns the record set last November when he carried nearly 170 kilograms for over 2 minutes. This latest feat, dedicated to the Indian military, border security force, and the heroes of the Battle of Dograi, was staged during the iconic retreat ceremony. The spectacle drew massive crowds and national attention, turning the border into both a battleground of history and a stage for inspiration. Guinness World Records is now reviewing Karadi's latest attempt. If verified, India's Steelman could add yet another title to his already legendary name. A heartwarming story from Wales shows how the power of teamwork can turn the impossible into reality. A local rugby club set aside the game they love to help one of their biggest supporters achieve his lifelong dream, reaching the top of the country's highest mountain. Val David Gracia for the story.
In Wales, the strength of a rugby team went far beyond the field, turning a lifelong dream into reality for one of their most loyal supporters. Members of Bangor Rugby Club helped 66-year-old Phil Thompson, a lifelong supporter, to achieve something he once thought impossible, reaching the summit of Snowdon, Wales' highest peak. Phil from Bangor has been in a wheelchair since a motorcycle accident at 19. For decades, he believed standing atop the 3,560-foot mountain was a dream out of reach. But this summer, his beloved club made it happen. As a part of a fundraising event, the team carried Phil to the summit in just over 3 hours. A special built frame designed by local welders allowed players to lift his wheelchair securely up the rugged trail from Camp Llanberis. The effort raised more than £2,100 toward a £3,000 goal to support youth rugby activities, following funding cuts from the Welsh Rugby Union. But more than money, it gave Phil a memory he'll treasure for life. Players say the climb wasn't just about fitness or fundraising. It was about family. And while this unforgettable act of teamwork brought Phil to the peak, advances in mobility technology may one day make the climb possible again. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Val Divina Gracia, SMNA News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. It is also wise for leaders to consider ascribing the glory to whom power belongs, never to himself. Rulers are to be honored as a man and never to be worshipped as a god. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Kristel Guangco. Thank you for watching.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.